The Protect kit is a two-part kit made for your rubber roof. The cleaner conditioner cleans it and it conditions the rubber to keep it soft and pliable. You know, when they go down the road, they twist, expansion and contraction, so the rubber needs to be able to give. That's one of the reasons we really like this, but I do recommend using this. Now the second part is a UV protectant. That is really important. That's what bakes the roof. The UVs start to break down the rubber material, and even the Dicor, the sealers that are around the plumbing fixtures and roof vents that stick through the roof. Once a year, this will really extend the life of your roof. You may not have to do it once a year depending on how you store your camper and where it's at. It's about $50 for this kit. It will do a 30-foot camper twice easy. For stubborn spots, the cleaner, use it straight. You will see some little blue spotting or something that comes through on all those roofs, and you may not get all of that off. That's not an issue. When you get on the roof, what you don't want to do is when you rub it and it starts coming off and your hands are really white, that means it needs something on it. Eventually that will turn and start looking like little crow's feet. And that's when your rubber membrane is needing replaced. There is some methods to repair that if you bought a second-hand one or something like that. We carry that stuff in the store here also. Now Dicor, that is the sealer, the protector. The protector you apply with a little sponge mop, just a kitchen, like you would do a kitchen floor with. Just get a cheap one because you're going to throw it away when you're done. Just apply it evenly in like 3x3 squares. I usually start at the front and work my way towards the back. The cleaner, I would use a soft bristle brush. We carry some in the store. You don't want to use anything hard or that can tear the rubber. As you saw, it is pretty thin, but you want to use a soft brush. You can use the same brush that you would use on the sides of the camper. And again, you can dilute the cleaner. I would dilute it about half and half. Stubborn spots, hit it straight. And once a year with the protector, it will really increase the life of the roof. And that's probably the most important thing about maintaining a camper is the roof and the seals. They just really can't take any water damage. All the new ones that come from the factory, they say every 90 days to inspect your roof and your seams. Checking the membrane, and then the other part is the sealer that's around all of the plumbing vents and roof vents. It's called Dicor. It's a substance kind of like a caulking material. It uses in a caulking gun. There are two types, self-leveling and non-leveling. The self-leveling, say when you get on your roof, you see some cracks around one of your plumbing vents. Well, that can leak water. The self-leveling is where you would want to use that. If you see a crack, all you do is load your caulking gun, and it has a consistency of just like a regular house caulk, but it never really gets hard. And you just apply over the crack. Now it is called self-leveling. In about an hour or so, it will level out and seep into all the cracks. The non-sag is more like doing a repair, replacing a plumbing vent or something like that. Well, this is self-leveling. It's real tacky. It won't smooth out like caulk. It'll just gum up on your finger. It'll flow out and level out. And, now the non-sag one. Non-sag's good for using like down this little side here, places you wouldn't want it to run. Is there any other questions about the roof? The cleaner? Yeah, and this kind of depends on how dirty it is. I start off about half and half. It's generally what I mix up to do one. Over a year's time, if you do your roof just once a year, it'll be pretty dirty at the end of the year. It's not going to hurt a thing. It is not going to hurt a thing. And anytime you see a crack or a corner bead or something that has popped up, you know, when these things go down the road, they twist. And anytime something twists or gets in a bind, something gives a little bit, well, those sealers never really harden up, and that's the reason why, so they can give. But sometimes, you know, a crack will occur. After a long trip or pulling one, it's always a good idea to check over everything real good when you get back to the house. Any other questions on the roof? All right, appliances. Hot water heaters. There are two types. No, you kind of want to be in the shade if possible, and if possible. I've done it in the sun too. Around 70, 80, I mean, you're fine in those temperatures. I wouldn't put it on below 50. There's probably some exact temperatures on the box, but I wouldn't put it on below 50. Sir? Covered up? Yes, sir. Any other questions on that? All right, appliances. Hot water heater. We'll get a lot of questions about that. Now there's two types, an Atwood and a Suburban. A Suburban has a drain plug that looks like this. It has a steel tank. Steel will rust, so you have to have something to stop the rust from occurring. That's why it has an anode rod built onto it. The Atwood has an aluminum tank. Aluminum doesn't rust, so it has a plastic plug. Both are good hot water heaters and function the same way. Now on the Suburban, when it starts to look like this, a piece of coral from the ocean is what I describe it as, and that's kind of what it looks like. It's time to get ready and replace it. That one went a little too far. At that point, your tank is rusting, and all that's getting in your water system. These rods are inexpensive. Depends on the type of water you use. Some wear out faster than others. They're $10. Keep an eye on those. On the Suburban hot water heater, when this starts to deteriorate a lot, this will build up in the tank. Rinse the tank out. They make a little tool, or you can make something to go on a water hose just to rinse that tank out. That's a good idea to do once a year anyway. As far as de-winterizing and winterizing, there's a couple of different systems for that. And one question we get a lot of is, how come I can't run my hot water heater on electric and run my microwave and run a hairdryer? It's not enough electricity. The hot water heater, when you're running it on electric, is about 10.5 amps of your 30. So your AC, they'll hit about 15 when the compressor kicks on. You're at 25. Converter, pulling a couple, you know. So you're really getting to the end of your power. You're going to start tripping breakers. On gas, the hot water heaters take about 15 to 18 minutes to come to full temperature. Gas is relatively inexpensive, doesn't require a whole lot. I highly recommend in the summertime running those hot water heaters on gas. One way to think of it, if the AC's on, run it on gas. It'll save you a lot of headaches, especially in a 30 amp unit. Now on the hot water heater, is there any questions that you have? Bypass valves, everybody good on that? And on the exterior of the hot water heater, a bug screen, dirt daubers and wasps, all the appliances that have LP, it attracts them, and they like to build nests in them, and it causes a lot of issues. They get in the gas valves and the burner tube especially, and those have to be cleaned out. The bug screens are inexpensive and can save you a lot of headaches. Now, the furnace, next appliance. The furnaces heat from LP. The motors are 12 volt. So they're running off your battery, which means your converter is what it's running off of. It's not 120 volts. They do burn a lot of LP, especially when it's cold. Exact how much, it just depends on temperature and what you've got your thermostat set on. In the winter, they will burn a lot. Bug screen, very important for the furnace. It'll either be 2 holes on the outside of your camper or 1 hole, and it's a big hole. I mean, a bird can get in it. They do get hot. You got some grandkids or something like that, the bug screen will help you with that also. Now the refrigerator. Camper refrigerators run off of LP, and they run off 120 volts. The LP requires 12 volts to run. So when your system gets down to about 7 volts, your refrigerator is going to quit working on gas. So the battery has to be up. When you're traveling down the road, a lot of people stock the refrigerators. In the vehicle, you have a charge wire hooked up, which charges the battery and keeps the battery up while you're traveling. When you're plugged up, of course, the converter is charging, and it will run the system on gas at home. If you're running a refrigerator, a lot of people parking by the house and do that. The automatic setting is what I prefer to run them on. On automatic, it's going to find the easiest way it can to run. If you're plugged up, it's going to run off 120 volts. If you lose power for some reason, it's going to automatically switch over to gas. So on auto, it's got you covered. Any questions on your refrigerator? Again, that is an LP appliance. Bug screens is probably your main defense, and vacuuming out the compartment on the outside of the camper. It'll be a 3 vented square box that pops out. Keep that as clean as you can. Put some bug screens on it. The refrigerator repairs and furnace repairs are pretty expensive. Now that's pretty much the 3 major. You do have an air conditioner on the roof. It is 120 volts. Most of them are 13,500 BTUs, and as I said earlier, they take about 15 amps when the compressor's on. There's some newer models that are coming out that take less. Your ACs have a little filter in the ceiling. Most of them are washable. I would do that every spring. If you're in a dusty condition or the camper's set up all the time, you may need to do that more. And in the spring, I do recommend a coil clean. If you use your camper in the summer and run it quite a bit, have the guys do a coil cleaner. That's something you can do yourself too. It depends on how handy you are at home and what tools you have. We all see the fins at the back of the air conditioners. You see those are open. Those have to be cleaned out, and most people think that's the only set there is. There's another set in the front too. There's a box that has to be taken off to access it. There's a product called Coil Clean we use here. It does a great job. That will really help your air conditioner breathe properly, make a big difference in its cooling. A lot of times people will come in here, my air conditioner's not cooling, and that will fix the problem. Not every time, but a lot of the times. Now your air conditioner, if you're at home stocking the unit to go camping and you've got it plugged into a 15 amp outlet at home, don't run the air conditioner. You can turn on some lights, turn on the refrigerator, get the unit ready to go camping. but you're on 15 amps. And as I said earlier, the AC needs at least that. It will run, but you're going to start damaging capacitors and some of the internal organs of the AC. Alright. Any questions on any of the appliances? There'll be several sheet metal screws on the front condensing unit. There'll be several sheet metal screws that you'll have to take loose to access to get to it. You have to remove that and get it out of your way. Sometimes they'll have foam tape where they got it sealed up, or aluminum tape. Well, once you take the outer case off, the back one is open, so you'll be able to see that one. Before you put it up, one or the other. One or the other. And it depends. If you only used your camper 6 times, you know, it didn't run enough to need a coil clean every year. It just depends on usage. But a lot of people, you know, put the campers out as much as they can during the season. And if you run it a full season, or I would recommend that. If you only go a dozen times or something, maybe once every 2 years. If you start losing efficiency in your air conditioner, start with that. Definitely. But the filter in the ceiling that you can access by just removing the cover on the inside, definitely clean that every spring. That one you can just rinse out, let it dry, and put it back in place. You can do it as much as you want. You're not going to hurt a thing. Again, it depends on how you use it. You're not going to overdo it. Alright, well, let's move to the exterior. Some units have a ladder. If you don't have a ladder, a step ladder works great. You can put against the side. Just be careful where you put it. Most of them have a gutter rail, but just the rear is usually where we'll put one. We're fortunate enough here to have electric lifts, but at home a step ladder would be your safest one. And usually at the rear you can bump it up right against the unit and walk up and right onto it. They are a little slick when the dew's on in the morning. But and when you're walking up there, you're fine to walk up there. You know, you don't want to jump and carry on or have a bunch of chairs up there or anything like that. Because, you know, it's not easy to tear, but it's not hard to tear either. Like an edge or something, but we get on them all the time here. Alright, we'll move to the sides of a camper. There's 2 types, fiberglass or aluminum siding. Both of them on the side, you'll see a putty sticking out around the corners. Kind of a grayish putty. That's called camper putty. If that will start to dry over time. When you see that dry and a crack occur in it on the sides, whether it's aluminum or fiberglass, either one, silicone. If you got a white unit, use white. If it's an odd colored unit, use clear, but 100% silicone. Around your compartment doors, your refrigerator vent, if you have a 5th wheel, around the corners that curve up over the truck, silicone. Those are very important. You might see some of the older campers at the bottom, especially on a travel trailer, where that's kind of took some water damage. Well, up front, you know, it's really doing a lot of twisting when it's going down the road on the front end, even the 5th wheels. But that's what you use on the side. As far as cleaning, a product here we like to use is a Crown. That's what we use back here. Works great, does a good job. You can dilute it, you can use it straight. It comes in a spray bottle also. The best wax, well, I mean, any good wax, if it's an easy way to wax something, it's probably not the best stuff in the world. We handle McGuire's here, and that's what I would use on mine. something of that, Turtle Wax, some good carbonate wax. Again, you're not going to overdo it, but once a year will make a huge difference. Makes them a lot easier to keep clean. Again, with the roof and the sides, if you keep that roof from the black streaks coming down, that's the beginning. The sides, if you keep wax on it, all that stuff's going to rinse off a lot easier for you, and of course keep the finish up. You might notice some of the older ones look dull. The outside finish has just lost its sheen. It's just from not being waxed and being out in the sun, UV rays. Now you notice the decals will do the same thing. I know of no fix on the decals. Well, you'd have to talk to one of our service writers and see. You'd probably be better off doing it at home. I'm sure it's something we could do. But yeah, we do do some cleanups and stuff, but that's something to talk to one of the service writers here about. All right. Yes, sir. This right here, straight, wet the unit down, and then this right here, and one of those soft brushes and a little elbow grease where the black straights are really giving you fits and not wanting starting it. Yeah, I'd start up there on the roof, and then when you get your roof done, use this on the sides, and where those stubborn black streaks are, use that straight. Ooh. It may take quite a bit of elbow grease, but that's what I would start with. And I don't know if I'd use anything harsher than that on it. But in straight form, that and a little rubbing, that'll do a lot for you. But if it's like that, I'd start with that roof up there. Crown. And just any good wax. Any other questions on that? Interior. Basically just like a house. The cabinetry in the wintertime will expand and contract a little more than a house, actually, because it's just sitting. Same household cleaners, there's different types of sinks in them. They usually have a sticker, or will be in your manuals of what to clean them with. Some of them have soapstone, some of them stainless steel. But generally, what I say on that is just like a house, vacuum, all that kind of stuff will help you keep your camper up, and you might notice some things you don't from the outside. Say in the back corner, the carpet's got a little dark stain showing, and you feel that it's damp. Well, there's a leak coming from somewhere. You would never notice that from outside. It might be coming from where the corner bead turns over the top. But by doing that and keeping up on that, it's going to help you with a lot of other things too. Underneath the cabinets, when you're cleaning, check the plumbing connections while it's under pressure. When they go down the road, they vibrate, and sometimes some of those hand-tight fittings will vibrate loose, and you'll start to develop a drip. And just a drip, you may not know it for a half a season or a dozen camping trips. And then you get underneath the sink, and the whole floor and your little mat's wet and everything there, and you can't figure out why. But staying on top of and doing things like that is really important too, and a lot of people don't consider that maintenance. But it will help you stay on top of a lot of issues and help you find some issues if you do have them. Now, on the outside, we go back out there to the tires. That's what keeps the camper on the ground. They say every 5 years get a new set. On the tires, there should be a date saying when they were manufactured. Different manufacturers use different dating systems, what I've been told. Tires, if you have a question and you have the money, just get a new set and you know what you've got. You can check for dry rot. Most people will look on the sidewalls, and we've all seen a dry rotted tire. It's cracks on the sidewalls. Well, dry rot actually starts in the treads. So when you're checking your tires, look between the treads for dry rot. That's where you'll have a blowout from before it even gets to the sides of the tire. Again, every 5 years, highly recommended. The damage from a blowout can be rather expensive depending on how the camper's built. Some models have a hot water heater and a furnace mounted right above the tires, like the one behind us here. And you know, I've seen it. The tires go through the floors and rip the gas valves out, converters. Just, you know, it just really depends. So that's something to really, really watch, is your tire pressure before you go out, tire condition. If the unit is set and stored somewhere where the sun's beating down on one side of it, get some tire covers. They'll more than pay for themselves. Keeps the sun off of them, make a huge difference. Tire covers. If they happen to be white tire covers, put a garbage bag over the tire, then put your tire cover on. It'll keep the tire from bleeding through on the white. I can't stress the tires enough before you go out. It's really a pain to have a blowout. As you know, most of them do not come equipped with jacks or anything like that, so be sure you got some device to change a flat tire. There's a lot of options out there now. Of course, carry a bottle jack with you, you know, on a way to chalk it. This company here makes a drive-on jack where you just drive on the tire that's not blown out. It lifts the back or front tire that is blown out, and you change it back off of it. And if you have a travel trailer, use it for a tongue block also. A great space saver instead of having all those things. So there's a lot of options out there, but do carry a way to change a tire with you. Yeah, sometimes you never know. Yeah. Checking those connections. Anytime you see a water leak, depending on where it might be coming from, start with a plumbing connection. Say if you find it in the bathroom in front of the vanity, start checking those. And if you don't find anything there, start looking and feeling toward the walls and up, because if the water's coming from somewhere, it's probably coming from up top, either a window or the roof area and running down the wall. So if you do see a puddle somewhere, it just depends on the location again. But there'll be something above it somewhere causing it, whether it be plumbing or a leak. All right. Any other questions? Any questions about setting up a camper? Everybody good on that? Go ahead, Larry, if you have a question. Everybody knows we need to chalk them. These right here are great. The self-leveling chalks, the X chalks, and that kit below it right there, that will set you up at pretty much any campsite within 4 inches side to side. That'll set you up and chalk you off, and that's all the space it's going to take up in your camper. So again, when you're looking at items for this year, look for stuff like that. Companies are coming out with a lot of space-saving stuff, and every bit of that right there, you can rinse it off. Your X chalks, of course, spray down with a little WD-40. It's not going to rust. It's not going to mildew. You're good to go. Plugging up at campsites. Electrical issues. A surge protector will make a huge difference if you ever need one time, it will have more than paid for itself. Power surges can occur from lightning, the power grid at the campground. When you're at a campground with 400 sites and everybody's using air conditioners and Xboxes and everything, the whole power grid gets stress on it, and it can fluctuate, whether it be low voltage or shoot some high voltage through it. The surge protector is going to stop that from coming into your unit. Without one, it's going to come into your unit somewhere, and it nearly always gets a converter, and it can get some other boards too. Your hot water heater has a board in it. Your refrigerator actually has 2 in it. Your thermostats, it can do a lot of damage. There's a lot of items like that can save you a lot of headaches. Most of the items in the stores do have a reason, even step covers. They reduce a ton of trash that gets tracked into your camper. A whole lot. LED lighting. Everything is coming out with that now. If you have an older camper that doesn't, you can change over light fixtures or bulbs. Just put it in here. This is just the overhead light that's in a camper. That is almost 1.5 amps, and you know all of our lights have 2 in them. So each light is 3 amps, and they get pretty hot, and they'll smoke up the light fixture before long. And as I said, there are LED options available. These things last nearly forever. They don't put out any heat. And back to the electrical issue. See how much brighter that is? It comes in a white light and a blue light. That uses 1/4 of an amp. So you're taking a light fixture from 3 amps to a 1/2 amp automatically, which is, your converter is going to love you for it. Your light fixtures are going to last a lot longer. And again, these bulbs last pretty much forever. Yes, there's some models that don't, but I'm pretty sure it does. Yours is a 14? I have to look at it for sure. See, there may be some older bulbs and some of them are mixed, but most everything now is LED. Alright. Well, we went over winterization and stuff already, but you'll run into little maintenance issues like this. Even doing a thorough winterizing job, there can be issues, and this is one that we see quite a bit of, so I wanted to bring to your attention. The back side of your commode, keep a check on that for water dripping. Sometimes the line just gets loose. This is a really thin piece of plastic, and this unit was winterized properly, but the valve on the back of the toilet still got a hairline crack in it, and it's just a little drip. So keep an eye on things like that. Those parts are inexpensive, guys. That's a toilet valve, is what that is. That's the water inlet valve. That's just one thing we see a lot of. And even when I'm winterizing, I'll make sure and run antifreeze through that commode about 3 good, solid pink shots, Again, opening the cabinets, checking behind the commode where the water connections are. They're all just hand tight. Even on a new unit, when you get somewhere out first time, check it. Springtime, it's a good idea to keep all those stuff in tune. Everybody thinks it's a whole lot of work, but it's really not. Just a one good walk over in the spring, and I like to do one in the fall. Personally, I'd rather put one up clean for the winter, so it's stored clean. When it comes back out, you're still going to want to dust it off and rinse it off and do all that again. But again, the more the better, but it is all about fun. At the campsites, you can do a lot of this stuff while the camper's in use. Is the best time to check a lot of these water fittings. If you have an outside kitchen, check that one underneath that sink. If you do have an outside kitchen with a refrigerator, remember that the refrigerator is totally electric, and when you get through camping, it will sweat, and the water will run in that outdoor kitchen floor. So be sure and cut that refrigerator off, dry it out when you get through camping. Alright, well, is there any questions you have about anything about the campers or camping? Well, that depends on the model. If I'm not mistaken, the kitchen sink to the right would be a panel. It should be in that area there. It might be underneath the bed. The bed lifts up like this in that model, I believe, in the front. Or it might be underneath the bed, but there'll be a way to access it. If it's a panel, there'll be 2 or 4 screws that are square number 2s to remove a panel or take a drawer out of the kitchen, either one. But that's the way we have to find them here, working on different models. When we're doing service work, is cut the pump on and then track it down and try to find it. But on the 13, I'm pretty sure that's where it is. Any other questions? Well, this was a small, enjoyable class, and I guess we will drink some coffee and eat some donuts unless anybody has any other questions. Yes, sir. On our website you can check it out, and I believe our other website is arvcustomercorner.com. It has like our camp outs, the scheduling for this. There should be a link from our main website. Which had, I don't know, something didn't get relayed there. I don't know why it didn't get changed on the computer, but no, they're going to run a little farther than that. Yes, ma'am. We usually start in October with these, and we didn't get started till December because we were just running behind at work. We had a big year, so we didn't get started till December, and Chad had to get something up on the computer right quick, so we just put up a few generals. There's going to be some more filled in there, but they should be about 2 a month until the season breaks. arvcustomercorner.com. I'm going to confirm that with Chad before we leave to make sure.